question. So when you say protest, you also say it maybe that the sale number, like
yes.
Protest 51.
4-4, protest 5-1. That's how you do it in remote control boats.
Okay.
And I think it does say you must do it. You should do it twice, actually. No, not anymore. Do it once. I recommend you repeat yourself after a while.
You have to continue to do it until
you gotta say it loud enough.
Yeah. So remember.
They don't acknowledge, so you have to say it again.
The time limit of when they need to exonerate themselves if they're wrong.
As soon as they're clear.
Or as soon as possible.
Yeah, and again, I'm a believer that there's time to reconcile a little, to figure out who was actually wrong. So I would not protest somebody for not doing it immediately if they waited a little while. You know, if they're going all the way around the gates and they get right by the finish line, they realize they're now in third place and they do it, I'll probably just go ahead and protest them and go to the room, just for, you know, making sure we're all remembering that, you know, we're supposed to do it the right way. And as soon as you are clear of everybody and you can do it without fouling, you should be doing your 360. One tack and one jibe in the same direction.
Okay, so I wrote this little saying on the board. I've lived by this for a really long time. And I did pull this out of one of Eric Tawan's books. And it's not what you're going to gain, it's what you're going to lose. Right? So when you look at the scenario, as you approach, whether it be a leeward mark, a port starboard, a starting line coming up underneath somebody, whatever it is, what are you going to gain versus what are you going to lose? It's not what you're going to gain, it's what you're going to lose. If you get tangled with that guy at the start, you just blew your start. No matter what. For what? Because you wanted to get close to this guy? It's not worth it. It's not what you're going to gain, it's what you're going to lose. And so when you start really thinking about what you could lose in this scenario, you make different choices. If you go into the leeward marks and you're the outside boat, you know, we've given you a couple of the scenarios: slow your boat down, jibe wide and come back in behind, pick the other mark. You know, if it's a pretty fair leeward gate, if it's a really favored leeward gate, yeah, you can use those other scenarios. If you're doing a medium course and you have to go around that mark, there is no other mark to choose from, you know, going wide and coming back in behind saves you that complication. Now you have to make those choices in a split second to whether to go wide, whether to go wide around the mark and end up to leeward, and then you get to reach up to the next mark, so you're sailing a little bit tighter, faster point of sail possibly, or to jibe out and then come in behind to sail right behind him. So if you approach each of those situations with what can I lose in this situation, you know, I get tangled with that guy. Well, there goes my race. That takes me out of the top 5 or top 3, or maybe it doesn't. You know, maybe you're really fast, you know, and you can still sail back. But the idea is, if you're going to lose, think about that. Could you have stayed out of that and not gone through that loss? So it's not what you're going to gain, it's what you're going to lose. And I live by that mantra. I live by that mantra.
One thing about going wide, especially at the reaching mark there, is you can see what's going on better and not get in trouble.
It's about staying out of trouble and staying out of conflict.
It's hard to see what's going on up from here. And everybody's...
No, it is. It's a speed and depth perception judgment, right? Your speed versus the depth perception judgment that you have. And we're challenging my depth perception against Steve Delva's or yours, right? We're judging that speed and depth perception judgment. And it's hard. It's hard. Everybody has to make choices and everybody has to be aware of that. These are some of the scenarios that you can do to improve your leeward mark roundings. Because how many races have you seen won and lost in the last weather leg? Even going from the leeward marks here to the finish line at the pole, right? There's a lot of changeover sometimes between those two marks. And it's just because the guy got a better leeward mark rounding and did a few things better at the leeward mark than you did, right? Well, these are a few of those scenarios. So I got another one, and I'm going to turn. I think I'm going to turn the board this way. So, we're going to talk.
Which one's Larry?
Well, Larry sails a red boat, so I guess this one's Larry. And I don't have a pink boat, or otherwise I'd put you on the board too. You're pretty good at, you're a king at this too. So, you're coming across on port. You're at the weather mark. This is the weather mark. These guys are on starboard, they're laying the mark. Let's move it up a little bit.
Yeah, this happens a lot here.
What are you gonna do? Steve, you're the blue boat. What are you gonna do?
Go off and come behind yellow.
You're gonna duck underneath these two guys and come back. That is a good scenario, right? Ty, you're the red boat. What are you gonna do?
I've seen people like tack around, do a circle, and go back up to starboard.
Okay, so this is another one of those sailing slow to win, right? So these two guys they got control, right? They're the ones in the power position on starboard tack. They're on ley line, starboard tack. Conflict. And then you end up shooting the mark, right? Conflict. What are you gonna gain? What are you gonna lose? You have a chance of hitting the mark, fouling potentially two other boats, right? It's not what you're gonna gain, it's what you're gonna lose a lot. Because not only are you gonna lose those boats, you'll probably lose this boat, any other boats down there that I don't have on the board, and that because you're gonna hit the mark. You're going to have to do a turn for that, and you're going to foul one of these other boats at least, and you're going to have to do turns for that. So now you're doing a 720, right? And meanwhile, everybody else is sailing away. That's what you're going to lose. So, some of the things you can do. You just sighted one of them. Tack around. Spin a circle. Let these guys go by. Come in behind them, right? Another one. Sheet out. Stop your boat. Just wait. Wait a minute. Just wait a minute. Now, if it's the only two guys, I'd stop my boat. If there were a whole line of guys, I'd have to make some choices. Right? Stop your boat. Let these guys go by. Shoot back in. Come in behind them. Slow your boat down. Think about your position going around the mark, not the conflict going around the mark. This requires forward thinking. This requires you to have situational awareness and being willing to not push to try to be ahead. It's really interesting if you go into really big competitions. You know, I'm talking about the IOM fleet, A fleet, B fleet, C, D, E, right? You start out in A fleet. Those guys don't take any of these chances. They stop their boats, they tack around, they duck all of the guys, come in behind, and try to get them on the next leg, right? Go for them on the next one, you know? You don't see any conflict. Guys in B fleet, yeah, you get that a little bit too. You start talking C and D fleet, boy, that guy's, I'm going in there. I gotta cut the corner. What you're gonna lose, not what you're gonna gain. And as you go down in the fleets, from A to E, it gets worse and worse and worse and worse. Because the guys at the bottom are frustrated. They're really wanting to get ahead. And so they figure that by cutting the course and cutting the rules and cutting in is the way to do it. And it's not. It's about maintaining your composure, using your situational awareness, and using forward thinking about what you're going to gain versus what you're going to lose. I might gain this guy or this guy. I might get one of those guys. But I could lose a whole shitload of guys by creating this scenario. Right? So this is a really important feature because this happens to us at this pond all the time. Coming in on port, and I tell you what, it's that way in El Dorado, it's that way at Mason Park, it's that way at Long Beach when we were just there. Coming in on port was a way to get around the mark. You know, because in this pond, when the wind is prevailing, you get driven to the far side of the point. Why? In part, because everybody's going up the coast like this. Right? And this guy's got control over everybody, and he's nowhere near the shore. Right? And so everybody goes, even if it's this guy's looking at this guy. I'm gonna beat Pat. I'm gonna get Pat. I want to really get Pat. And that's the only guy he's thinking about. He's completely forgot about the rest of the race course. And that's not what you want to do. You want to think about the race course. You want to think about what's this guy doing way over here? You know, how do when I start out, after I start up and go up the first beat, I'm trying to figure out how do I get over to the right. And I'm thinking about that. How do I get to the right? Because I want to approach the mark on starboard, because if I approach it on port, I have that other scenario where I can either stop my boat or not. Now, if you're on the lead or if you're in a position in one of the holes in the fleet, and there are many holes in the fleet, right? Where, you ever notice how boats kind of sail in groups? There'll be 2-3 boats here, a boat here, 3-4 boats there, one guy over here. But there's a lot of guys that sail around in groups, right? And so it's tough. You have to make those choices. So as soon as I start, I'm trying to figure out how to get over to the right, and whether the wind is favorable to take me to the right, or am I going to go over and get in a hole? You know. But when you come to sailing on the pond here, at this pond, and it applies to a lot of other ponds. You want to think about the other guys, the proximity of the other guys, and how do you start thinking about what's going to happen down the road. I don't match race. I don't try to match race Gil or Ty, Keith. I don't just drive off blindly trying to outboat speed them. I'm looking at the course around me and what I might see. That are we getting headed? Most guys don't realize they're being headed. They think they're just pinching up. They think, oh, I've just pinched up too much. I'll fall back off. And what really happening is they're getting headed and they don't realize it and they need to tack. And that happens on those guys going to the far shore all the time. There's a little bit of a header. Of course, if you get right down to the shore and you're way up by the weather marks, there's a big lift. And they're thinking that lift's going to move down the pond, halfway down the pond. Sometimes it does and sometimes it doesn't. But you can't rely on that lift. And then as you come over, you come out of the header and then you get lifted up on the other side as you come across. But it's really hard to not think about that. And so that situational awareness is really important. Questions? Oh, hey, by the way, this is Kelly, right?
Yeah.
This is Kelly. He's new. He's going to be sailing Pat's orange boat and that. So welcome, Kelly, everyone. Yay!
Give me a wide circle. So is that tactics or strategy? And is that something you could discuss maybe on a future time where you can say, these are the conditions here that we normally see, and maybe plan out in advance where you want to be?
So on his theme of slowing the boat down in order to win, the windward mark is exactly that time you do it. So you guys all understand the buoy room rule, right? You've heard it all today. You guys all know that. As soon as you put this boat over there, the buoy room rule is there's no buoy room. Between boats on opposite tacks on a beat, there's no buoy room at a mark. So
Buoy room meaning overlap.
Overlap, right? There's no overlap here because the buoy room rule has now been taken out. There's no buoy room between opposite tack boats on a beat.
It still relates to yellow and blue though, right?
Exactly. So you guys got that all figured out.
Yeah.
to do this tactically, Kelly, is usually not the best move. Because how many of you guys have been here? You do the big duck behind 4 boats, you tack, and you look up, and here's Jess on about a 35-degree port tack lift crossing everybody. You get over there, and then the wind shifts over there. You guys have been there before many times, right? So the move is slow yourself down. You could let the sails out. What I tend to do is, oh God, I'm not getting in there. I'm the red boat, I'm not getting in there. What happens? I stay upwind, and what happens to the boat? Slow. These boats are going VMG speed, right? VMG speed. Then I speed up, and I come around, and I do that tack right here. So I've just slowed down to gain. I've actually reduced my distance, because when I do my tack, I'm way up here. I'm not down there where I have to sail. We know that we can lose in a DF95. We can go dead stopped anytime the wind dies. An IOM, you know, you can maintain some momentum, but the DF, if you get way over here and the wind dies, you're more than 40 seconds from the mark. We've all been there. So it's called a delayed duck, okay? You're coming along, you're not making it. What do? Delay. You slow down, you let that boat go the full speed cross, and then you just cross them later. Okay, so that's called a delayed duck. We do that a lot.
So I have a story I'll share, and I was unaware of it. Mark Gullison told me about it later. We were coming in, and we were the 2 boats coming in on port. He was slightly ahead of me, and I was slightly to leeward of him, almost overlapped on his starboard quarter coming in on port. And he saw this scenario building up, and I did too, and I started to bear away, but he stopped his boat. He sheeted out, his boat stood up straight, and in an effort to avoid him, because all of a sudden now I have to clear his boom and all this other stuff, I drove off really hard. My boat heeled over, my keel hit the trailing edge of his keel and put a huge chunk out of the trailing edge of his keel. I didn't even realize our boats had hit, and my keel didn't have any evidence of causing that damage, but his trailing edge was all split, messed up. And he says it had to have been when I stopped my boat and you came underneath me, and all I was doing was avoiding him, you know, because he stopped in front of me.
Yeah, it went like that.
Yep, just like that. And I went around him, and
Caught the keels.
I caught the keel. So
what I've seen happen is I've been coming from behind like this. This boat goes like that, and they come around, and then I just slowed down. This boat tacks and parks it, and all of a sudden it's this scenario. So all I do is cross, go over there. So that boat just went like that, and
so there is one more scenario, and then we'll try and put some time on the water. And that is, you're coming across like this. You might be able to lay these guys. I'm going to say you can cross these guys, but you can't cross without causing a foul because the boat slows down in the tack, right?
So that'd be tacking too close?
It would be tacking too close. Plus you're tacking inside of the 4 boat lengths. 18.2 is in effect, right? So you can't take him above close hauled, and you're going to cause a foul. Not what you're gaining, it's what you're losing. So what do? You just sail right on past. Sail right on past into clear water over here, and then round the mark above these guys.
you give up distance again to lose only 2 boats instead of losing 8 boats.
Right.
So it's a net gain.
So that scenario is really hard to judge, and it's an option, but it's hard to judge. You've got to be able to, and I've watched you do it, I know I've done it, and I know others have done it. You sail across, and then tack into lure. You want to go around the mark. I mean, your tendency is like, oh, I got to get to the mark. But if you push this guy above close hauled, you've just lost. So in order to avoid that, see the fell. coast and tack on top. Okay.
And that tactically, again, it's not the dumbest thing. Here I am on red. Here blue is here. What do I say to blue sometimes?
Starboard.
What's the other thing I say?
Don't tack.
Cross.
Nice.
I'll slow down a little. I'll let them cross. Mark Gollison, he's coming like that. He's gonna cross me, right? I say cross, and then I just go like that. Not everybody's gonna do that. Most people are gonna tack in there. A good sailor is gonna cross, and that's way better for you.
And that's
You
the
fall
kind of
starboard, he
scenario-
tacks in front of you, fouls you. Contact in DF95s usually accounts up to 6 to 10 boats lost, depending on the size fleet. You
And
know,
that's the kind of
because
stuff
when they
you
get
see
stopped,
sailing
getting
in the
going
A
again
fleet.
can
They
be
just
really
stop, I
hard.
know.
That's
That's
you
why I
see
asked that
sailing in the
question
A
about-
fleet. You see these guys not like you cited Mark will cross, and then tack over here. Why? It avoids conflict. It avoids the potential. It's not what he's going to gain. It's what he's going to lose. He could lose. He could lose, and he doesn't want to lose.
It's not going to happen often, but that is a tactical move. It's to your advantage to go. Like on a keelboat, we're early. We're going, go ahead, cross. We don't say go. Go sounds like no, so we say cross. We wave our hand on these boats. Once in a while, we're going to say cross and let them go. We might even slow down a little so that then we just go around clean. So that's another tactic you can use.
More questions? Thoughts? Yeah, Doc.
Jess, could you share some pearls on starting tactics?
Oh, I can. I can.
A whole nother volume.
Yes.
Let's see.
Interesting, but yeah.
So, here's the pin and that. Starting is not my best forte, right? But the things that I will say or will share is guys that you end up in this scenario right here where everybody's kind of sitting. We all have we've kind of picked out our spot and stuff like that. And then one guy decides he's going to come up and he's going to sail down over but he doesn't want to be over, so he rounds down into you. No. Don't do that. Don't do that. All right? Another guy, this guy lefts you up. And you get up and you got to go over the line. They're going to move the buoy a little bit. He's left you up. You can go up. And if you're going to go over the line early. Pull the trigger. Pull the trigger and try to drive yourself over and down here and get yourself into a safe spot. Don't try to come back down into the fleet. Right? It's really hard. The other thing is practice. Practice holding your boat. There's a certain skill to holding your boat in location. And you'll watch some of the guys, Gary Bull, Larry Grant. Mark Gullison, not so much. Mark Gullison will start midline a lot. And he'll kind of drift down the line. He'll keep his boat motivating going down the line and start midline. He starts down midline a lot. Try to you know, in thoughts about it, I probably try to hold myself up and get the guys above me to hold up, and then right in the last few seconds before the start, if I've managed to create a space here, right in that last couple of seconds, I'll drive down into that space. I try to create a hole where I'm at. I learned that from Ian Vickers, right? He would create a hole. It was really funny how he did. I don't know how he did it, and I'm not sure I emulated in any way. But he would have air above him and air below him, and there would be a packed line. Everybody'd be there, but Ian would have more distance between his boats than other boats. And so having that scenario and being able to hold your station so that you can manipulate that is really important. There is a technique also where guys they drive down, they come around the outside, and they come back. They'll take everybody's stern, not to block the board. They'll take everybody's stern, find a hole, and stick it in right at the last minute. That's why today we'll put boats on the water, although we don't have a lot of breeze. You know, I'm fine with trying to do what we can do or not. I put marks out. I was going to run drills for guys going into the lure mark with overlaps, so guys can practice and try and look, and then we can ask questions and talk about scenarios going around the lure marks. Conditions aren't really favorable, so we have a lot of board stuff for this. Just more board stuff than I thought we would do. And you know, we run 30-second starts. Why? Because you have 30 seconds to make a choice, make a decision, get your boat in position, and start. And you'll see, guys. I'm actually critical of Larry Grant in that he'll line up at a minute and a half to go. A minute and a half to go, he'll be way down here, just sitting there, just waiting. And he'll wait there until he's right here at 10 seconds to go. And then he'll pull the trigger and go. And he'll just wait. And he's really good at holding station. And that's the thing that I want to point out. Dennis is pretty good at holding station. Right? And they'll hold station. Me, I tend to favor the weather end of the line. When the line's more like this, you know, the wind's still coming down here. Why do they do that? They do that to prevent guys like Larry Grant and that for having advantage to hanging at the weather part of the pin. So that when these guys get out here and they go and they tack, they aren't immediately met by these starboard tackles. They have a little bit of an advantage. Depends on the wind. They'll favor that outboard side just to keep guys from jamming this inside mark, because it is favored. It's generally favored. Does that help, Gene? Good. I don't know that I really answered your question, but you know, starting there again. That's the biggest thing. Is if you're over, if you're going to be over, if you find yourself pressured, you know that you've got like a million boats all stacked up, and you're feeling the pressure, pull the trigger. You'll see Steiger do this all the time. He'll run around again, go around again, come back, and you know what? At 10 and 15 seconds to go, you got plenty of time to pull that off and come back and be here. You really do. You know, it's a timing issue. It depends on the wind. It depends on a lot of things. But most of the time, you have that time. So bail out of there. Don't get yourself pushed over the line. Pull the trigger early. Go and then come back around. I've had guys though. That said, I've been here and said, "Man, this is bad. I don't like this." And I pulled the trigger to go. Get down, and this guy pulls the trigger and takes me right down all the way to the other end of the launch. I'm just trying to get away from everybody, and he's making sure that I don't. Right? I don't like that scenario, but it happens to me all the time.
That's because you're leading the regatta.
Yeah.
I can't say that I'm always leading the regatta, but that's a nice thing, and I appreciate you calling. But that happens, you know, and all he's doing is just, if I'm going down there, he's going down there. But what he's doing is preventing me from finding that hole, right? Because I'll drive down until I find a hole, and then I'm down, and then I'll drive down and come up.
So can I?
Oh yeah, lay it on.
It's underneath the border, but so you go around the windward mark, right? And there's a boat clear astern of you. You're both on starboard tack, and you're going, yeah, starting to head downwind. So here, maybe.
Yeah, do the board so everybody can see it.
Yeah, so you've gone around the mark and you're heading downwind, like here. And this boat's clear astern, the white boat. Continue down on your leg, on your leg, on your leg.
Louder time, we can't hear you.
Okay, continuing down on the leg here. He creates an overlap right here. And you're continuing on and on and on. You're about halfway down the leg, and you decide you want to jibe. So you jibe here. He jibed at the same time, still has an overlap. My question is, does he have luffing rights to take me up, or does he still have to hold his proper course?
I say he has luffing rights.
Yeah.
Why?
Okay.
Because the overlap was established before you jogged.
Okay. All right.
Anything else? Guys, does anybody want to talk about tune of the boats or anything like that? This is really not a tuning session. We had that last year. But this is this year, and we're trying to help with more stuff, you know, just in general.
I can help on the tuning, but I would like to make a point. I started this, 4 years ago? 4.5? And when I first started here, we were all learning the DF95s, and there was a lot of contention, and people were getting, and each year, everybody has improved to a point where it's just so quiet, almost all the, it's very neat to see how much better people have gotten and how much less conflict we have. And there is general conflict when we're our own referees, we have to accept that. But to see, as our skills improve, how our understanding of the rules and enjoying it more has gone up a lot. So it's been a really neat process to watch.
That's great.
Jess, I want to say one thing. You told me about a year and a half or 2 years ago, you gave me one little piece of advice that stuck. 2 millimeters and your adjustment is like a foot on the rail boat. So do it very slowly. I would always grab the adjustment, pull it down 1/4 of an inch. No, it doesn't work. You have to do it in small increments. That's stuck in my mind.
I still say that. If you guys, did everybody hear what he had to say? Because it's kind of an important thing. He says, adjustments to your trim, your topping lift, vang, all of that, really small increments. When you think about a big boat going to weather and you say, oh yeah, start the sheet 1 inch, you know, let it out 1 inch or 2 inches. You're sailing a 52 footer and they're talking about measuring things in inches, right? And then you go on a boat that's 36 inches long and you're pulling things 1/2 inch. No. It's a couple of millimeters.